So welcome back to our Python classes. And on today we are continuing to work with the JSON. So we learn how to write a Python data structure into a text file, which is basically we call the JSON file, right? It's just a regular text file. It just has the extension JSON, and it helps, of course, for Visual Studio Code. Can then see nicely indentation. It shows nice little color brackets, right? See the syntax is okay. Right, because of course nothing prevents you from saving your any random text as a JSON. It just won't be recognized as such afterwards when you try to read it. All right, so yeah, but I want to say also before we go to reading, you can write also a list, right? Let's say I have a list of just random list, something interesting, right? I have a list. It's just a list of items. It has a dictionary inside, has some values inside. Notice something that will happen when I encode it. So not only dictionaries can be saved as JSON, also you can save lists, right? Technically, you could save a single number or single string as a list. I mean, it would also still count as a JSON, just a kind of silly JSON if you have a string, because it's just a text file. Right, so usually when we talk JSON, we talk about things like, you know, saving using, you see brackets and curly braces, so save this notation. So when we have a list in Python, we're also going to save an array in JSON. So let's save it, indentation. I didn't add any encoding here. Let's see my list. And here it is. You see, it's a list, square brackets, not curly braces, with just items. So these are just, again, this is just pure text, formatted in a special way, and you have different items. And again, you have encoded it's a valid JSON file. That's what our JSON module, this JSON module made sure this is valid using this dump command, right? So okay, so now we know how we can write dictionaries and lists. Of course, they can be multi-level nested into JSON files. But now let's go to other way, right? Sometimes material start with we sort of went from the other direction, right? So we are gonna deserialize. Basically, what this means, we're gonna have to take this JSON file, which is basically a text file, and convert it into some Python data structure, right? So we have my data file intended. Let's see if I have it here. This one here, right? Okay, I'm going to open this one, right? Without any charlies for now, right? So I'm going to open it up. This open data file intended JSON as if, and I could read it. I could read JSON as a, I could read JSON file just as a simple text file, right? So this is what I'm doing, right? And look at this. This is just a string. You see, it's just a string. So now you hopefully you are can trust me on this. This is just a string. So right, and then it is, well, if you don't trust me, it is string indeed. So what I could do is, if you have a string, right? If you have a string in Python, right? So you can. It's called this. It is called deserialization, right? Right. So deserialize, right? Deserialize, right? Right. So now my data is JSON loads raw text, you know, on it decoded, right? Loaded, right? So loads. Notice S, load S, right? Loads a raw text into a Python dictionary. In this case, again, of course, we have keys, we have, you know, first name, last name, hobbies, age, children, and so on and so on. And we can print it out as a, again, so nothing too crazy, right? So now we can work, and now we can work with it. No, we can do just your regular Python operations, dictionary operations, right? So this has nothing to do with JSON anymore, right? However, right, it is. Instead of, you know, so we can skip the step. So we can skip we skip loading into string, right? So we skip that part. We do it immediately. So S, notice, right? So notice load, not loads, right? Yeah, right. Load is for string. So load S is for strings. Load is for file. So file streams. Load is for file streams. Right. Oh, thank you. AI reads my mind. Okay. So my data 2 it will be exactly the same because I'm getting, you know, I skipped one part, I'm doing directly. So I'm opening this file, this text file, I am reading it directly, right, loading it, deserialize, again, reading it, right, a file like object, again, so file stream, right, into a Python data object, right. And again, I think the biggest source of confusion is, again, so what's the difference between JSON and Python data? Well, Python data actually underneath, right, it could be, you know, let's say variables, right. I have a lot of, look at all these variables, I have diction list, right, you can see raw text, string, right, text wrapper, I have all kinds of good stuff here, right, file wrapper, right, some of these actually, but I think these are actually, well, these are actually closed, F is closed actually on, write file also is closed, by the way, right, you see my list, my raw text, right, so again, notice, this is what we actually store, we are storing a string, we really are storing a string in our file, but when we load it, we have a dictionary structure, which could have, of course, has a ways of accessing. Again, it would be a real shame to work all the time with pure strings, right? You don't have your access methods, you don't have your index methods, you have string, you have to find, you know, you have to find your first name. I mean, it's theoretically possible if you have a really, you know, if this is not invalid JSON, but that's what the purpose of JSON is. You have a machine parse it, right, into some data structure which you can use your cool methods. So that's how we do it, right? We load it directly, right? So my data loaded, same thing, right? This is exactly the same list. Yeah. So notice if I load a list here, right? Something here. Notice something interesting. Yeah. So this might be a crucial difference. If we go to the, if you go here, here, right? I saved the list. I had Python true, I had Python false, I had none from Python, right? I had some strings with single, right? However, when I load it from the file, notice in a file it's null, true, false. Why? What happened to my none? What happened to my true? What happened to my false? Right? And why is double quotes? Because that's how it is defined in a JSON standard. Where's my JSON standard? Right? JSON.org, right? That's what it says. You see, it doesn't have big true. It has true and false is with small letters and null, not none. Right? So different naming for this. Right? So I'm gonna when I load it back, right? It's gonna be list. My list loaded. Of course, I got everything back. Right? I got everything back. My second item is a dictionary. Right? So my second item. Right. Yeah, so we access our dictionary inside our list, right? And I can get my what I like. I get my chocolate. Let's get my first item. I like my potatoes. So I have a list. I have second item in my list, which is a dictionary. It has a key likes, and the first item of the inner list is potatoes, right? Again, yeah, of course, again, loading data. This is more Python specific, right? Is same contents and data, of course, two different objects, right? So again, you can create a string out of your Python data, right? So this is just a pure string, and you can save this string. Alright, right. So it is a string. Again, it's meant for, it's serialized into a string, right? And you can use it to send over internet or so on, right? So that's a major idea behind JSON. All right, what else do you want? So the rest of this will be loading different structures. We will talk about it in our live session. We'll talk about reading data from the network, right? This will require installing a request library. But before that, I want to show differences between Python data and JSON. Yeah. So these are the key, are strings in JSON, right? Okay, it starts getting, so right on. Yeah, one thing. So there's no tuple. Python tuple. Our arrays tuples are right. I think arrays also. numbers. Yeah, so lists, well, yeah, bytes, well, Python lists are, yeah, okay, I think that covers everything. So JSON versus Python data types. Let's check. I think I had a nice list. There was somewhere here. Right, there was a way of maybe somewhere images, right? Yeah, something like this, right? Maybe actually, I think this is a good one. This is a good one. I'll give. I think the real Python has very good information, right? This is a very good tutorial, actually, if you want to. All right, so you can see here, right? Yeah, so dictionary, object, list, tuple, array, right? This part here. So you can read more about it here if you are. So more about it, more about JSON here. Okay, so that concludes our introduction to JSON. And our next task in our live session will be to use it to read some data over, network or internet or web if you want. So, thank you.